The Texas Parks and Wildlife television series is funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Through your purchases of hunting and fishing equipment and motorboat fuels, over $50 million in conservation efforts are funded in Texas each year. And by Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation, helping to keep Texas wild with the support of proud members across the state. Find out more at tpwf.org. Additional funding provided by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram. Coming up on Texas Parks and Wildlife.
We discontinued production here just because we didn't have availability to water, and that continued until just last year.
There was a time when this river wasn't so clean, and due to a lot of environmental efforts, this is a very, very clean river.
The squirrel habitat I hadn't seen like this since I was a kid hunting in South Alabama.
Texas Parks and Wildlife, a television series for all outdoors.
We're feeding channel catfish today. This is our feed blower. It's rigged up, it's got a motor on it with a blower. We can actually just crank it up, pull a string, and it actually feeds the fish for us. So as soon as they hear the blower, they know that it's time to eat. Saves your back having to throw all the feed out by hand.
For Cody Talley and the rest of the crew at the Dundee Fish Hatchery, feeding the catfish is something they are more than happy to do again. For 4 years here, there were no fish to feed.
Well, yep, we had a big hiccup in production due to water supply. There was a very big drought in 2011, so we discontinued production here just because we didn't have availability to water, and that continued until just last year.
The Dundee facility is one of 5 freshwater hatcheries across the state. Dundee produces mostly striped bass, hybrid striped bass, and catfish. The hybrids and stripers are stocked in reservoirs across the state. The catfish end up in state park and community fishing lakes.
Yeah, got a big one.
That's what I'm talking about.
We could target as many as 2 million striped bass and hybrid striped bass fingerlings just from this facility in a year. When we produce catfish, that would be as many as 100,000 or more in a year.
But several years of drought meant the Dundee hatchery shut down for the first time since it opened in 1927.
All of our hatcheries operate off water rights that can be cut off. So we were without water and didn't operate. Last spring there was plenty of rain. The water levels in the lakes came up, so we began operations. Starting up is a bit of a process. It is steps and stages. Personnel have to be reallocated and then hired and then trained to do their job. Equipment has to be started and repaired, and all those things take a little bit of gearing up to get going full speed.
It will take several years for the hatchery to get back to full production. In the meantime, engineers are looking at the possibility of water reuse. That should help the hatchery continue operations in times of drought. That's good news for the people who work here and for anglers across the state.
Oh, Ursula! Golly, that's a huge one.
The Dundee hatchery is a big part of the inland fish hatchery program, and we can produce more fish and better support fisheries when this hatchery is operating. So we're very happy to have it up and running.
This project was funded in part by a grant from the Sport Fish Restoration Program.
Just 30 miles east of Austin, Bastrop is a central Texas town in flux. As rural life here becomes more urban, economic expansion and a growing population seem at odds with pine-covered hills and small-town charm. But some believe Bastrop's natural roots remain vital to its economy, that the river that brought life to Bastrop still holds a key to its future.
Our clear, clean Colorado right now.
The river looks great today.
On a crisp winter day,
Getting myself oriented.
a few concerned citizens meet with a biologist to survey some riverfront property.
This is the 6-mile float down to this takeout site.
Now popular as a river access point, this land has been a lot of things over the years.
You can see that there's been a problem with ATV usage.
Mostly, it has been abused.
It's been a pretty rough area.
The gravel operations moved all the soil around and kind of made mounds.
Years as a sand and gravel pit took their toll. Years as a mud pit followed.
Once the quarry was more or less abandoned, then it became a hangout for, doing all kinds of partying, whatever. And people like to do four-wheel mudding and those types of things. The other part of that, though, is they have a tendency to also get into the river. Not only is it against the law, but it also is damaging to the ecology.
At first glance, these 30 acres may look like a lost cause, but Steve Box runs a nonprofit that is working to change that.
Vegetation plan.
Steve believes restoring this land can improve both the river and the local community's connection to it.
Part of the function of land is to clean the water, and part of what this land can do is help make sure that we have a clean, clear Colorado River instead of a mud hole. It's a matter of, can we have a greater benefit to our community from using this in a different way?
I think you're going to end up with a really nice park.
Once you give it a chance to relax and
vegetate,
restore a little bit.
By spring, vehicle barriers are installed. For a day, this site resembles a gravel mine again. But the end result is a stabilized parking area. Trail building also improves access.
We're planning on having around 2 miles of trails.
It's coming along.
That's where Dale comes in.
Master Trail Steward, Dale Morrison.
I have trails built in New Jersey and Nevada and California.
With his favorite tool,
it's got the sharp ends on here to chop with and this here to rake with.
Dale has spent how many hours?
A whole bunch.
Hacking, chopping, and lopping trails along the river.
We still got to widen it and put road bed on it there.
It's hard work.
It grows pretty fast.
Even for a young man.
I chopped it last week and I come back this week and I had to chop it again.
Dale is in his 70s, but he prefers having a project.
Never-ending project.
To other options.
Sitting in an easy chair or getting in a wood box, one or the other there. This keeps you healthy.
Is the man. And it just goes to show you what one person can do.
Restoration projects like this don't just require dedicated individuals. That heavy equipment came from the local water district. They own the land. Texas Parks and Wildlife and the Lower Colorado River Authority have also provided support. But perhaps the most critical buy-in has been homegrown.
Thank you. It's great to be back at Rotary.
Since 2006, Denise Rogers has been building local support for paddling trails.
With nature.
These well-marked routes provide easy public access for paddlers.
This is the one that we're launching at Nature Fest this year.
They also provide tourism dollars for local economies.
We've been participating with Parks and Wildlife to designate official paddle trail destinations. The Paddle Trails program has been wonderful for the community in terms of economic development.
Denise and her husband John are good examples of that economic development.
We actually run a kayaking business, put people in the river, pick them up, full service. All they have to do is show up. It's like we're good to go.
When Denise and John moved to Bastrop, there was no outfitter, and as a result, very few paddlers.
People didn't realize that this was a recreational river for some reason. We would look down and there would be nobody on the river, and we thought, what's wrong with this river? And we would ask people.
All right.
We heard that the river was dangerous, we heard that the river was dirty, and we heard that there were snakes in the river.
There we go.
As far as the safety, it's considered a Class 1 river.
It doesn't get any easier than a Class 1.
Hey, it's perfect.
As for snakes in the river, I've only seen one snake, and he was just minding his own business.
But the water in this stretch of the Colorado has not always been appealing.
There was a time when this river wasn't so clean, and due to a lot of environmental efforts, this is a very, very clean river.
Beautiful. Kind of stick to the right in here.
One trip at a time, Bastrop is becoming known as a paddling paradise.
They're coming from Houston and Dallas and Austin and San Antonio into Bastrop. So now the locals are starting to wake up and realize, hey, maybe there is something to this.
Mercedes Groff is from nearby Smithville.
This is so nice.
And she is just discovering the river in her backyard.
So peaceful out here. I love it, like seriously. I mean, not very many people know about this.
See those natural springs? You can hear the water trickling down.
There's a nice one right here.
They're starting to show up right and left. Last month we put over 500 people on the river just in 1 month.
How can you come on this river and not want to come back?
There's just something about being completely surrounded by the water and the trees and the wildlife. No matter what kind of mood I'm in when I get on the river, I'm always in a better place when I get off the river.
Are you going to skip those rocks?
As it gets easier to access this river,
I can do it.
more and more people are connecting with it.
Woo! There you go.
And that's the idea behind those new nature trails.
People will be able to come over here and sit and watch the river. You can see lots of birds flying in here. Very nice.
Several months have passed, and this parkland may not look dramatically different, but the natural healing has begun.
We want this to be a nature destination. People that want to commune with nature, to love nature and be a part of it, to come down here and experience that and be able to take home the memories and take home the trash. We'll let them take home the trash too.
The same way natural restoration of this land can't happen overnight, respect for nature grows slowly too.
It is discouraging, but the behavior is already changing. You get people down here that want to respect the property and want to respect the river and respect each other, and you know, suddenly there's respect.
The attitude is changing, and we love that.
Perhaps the biggest sign that Bastrop is reclaiming its river is a now annual event called Nature Fest.
Nature Fest is basically an opportunity to get the community to know the river better so that they can have it in their heart to protect it.
You all set? Yeah. Have a good time.
They can get in the water, they can paddle.
There you go. All right, have you done this before?
We're getting kids and parents on the river for the first time. They've never been on the river, which is a great thing.
Bastrop would not even be here if it were not for the lower Colorado River.
What we are doing is just reconnecting it with its past.
This really is the crown jewel of Bastrop.
This is a beautiful little gun. Let's go quietly now, Macy. This is a good looking spot. I have 4 daughters. Macy is my outdoors person, so she likes to go and tromp out in the woods as long as the bugs don't bother her too much. Come on this side of the tree.
Joe Davis and his daughter Macy are hunting on the Gus Engeling Wildlife Management Area. It's in the heart of East Texas. with over 2,000 acres of pristine hardwood forest.
This is a beautiful place, and the squirrel habitat I hadn't seen like this since I was a kid hunting in South Alabama. I'm not sure I saw one, but I think I did.
Dad, there's one behind it that I think so. And that's just right behind it.
That looks like a good one, doesn't it? That one right there. Macy, be sure he's dead before you pick him up.
I know that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That other squirrel has got to be right here.
Dad, put it in your pocket. Which one? This one? Whoa. That's cool.
Seen squirrels and a hog, heard crows and woodpeckers and all kinds of things. But we kill, how many did we kill this morning?
4. 4?
I think that may be right.
3?
15? I think we killed 15 this morning, didn't we?
No.
In years past, a youngster learned woodsmanship and hunting skills with small game, like rabbit and squirrel. It wasn't so much a sport as a practical means of feeding the family. Many movies have portrayed small game hunting for what it once was. A rite of passage as kids grew to teenagers.
Look it, Pa. These here's for your supper and only wasted 2 shots.
That's mighty fine, son.
I'm taking charge all right, ain't I, Pa? Everything's coming along just fine.
Fast forward 100 years or so, and the things that made hunting such a socially acceptable and necessary part of our survival have faded away.
Take these birds.
The result, each year we have fewer and fewer young hunters. And each year, our ties to nature weaken ever so slightly.
I've been here since 1983, and I have more and more appreciation the longer I'm here for this place.
Hayden Hockey is a biologist who spent his career in the forests of East Texas. Over the past quarter century, he's seen the number of squirrel hunters decline by nearly 70%.
There's a lot of us, I know in the wildlife profession, you go around and ask them, that's how they were introduced to hunting. Maybe 12 or 13 years of age, to rabbits or to squirrel. And so we're wanting to continue that tradition in hopes of instilling, conservation ethics and just the love of being in the outdoors.
And that's why hunters like Orrin, his dad Kelly, and friend Sam come to hunt at Engeling.
Orrin, take your time, son. This is a dying thing, all these hardwood bottoms. You don't see this much anymore.
I like the hardwood bottoms. I like squirrels. It'd be better if I could shoot straight.
See where I'm pointing right here? See his limb coming down right here? I'm gonna walk around. You watch him coming on this side. He's right up there at the top. He's been a pretty good boy, both my boys. Turned out pretty good. And I think hunting has a lot to do with it. Spending time with them doing anything. Good shot. Yeah, he finally got one.
What you got? Another little cat squirrel roaming the trees. I'm getting me a squirrel before we go home. Huh? I'm getting me a squirrel before we go home tomorrow.
For a squirrel, a mature hardwood forest is a big grocery store, stocked with berries, acorns, and pecans. A healthy hardwood ecosystem also creates something akin to a huge squirrel condominium, providing den sites for females to raise and shelter their young. But quality habitats like the one at Engeling are rare. Many of the old-growth hardwoods have been cut down and replaced with huge pine plantations. It's not so much that we have fewer trees, we have fewer of the hardwood trees that create the food to support a diverse wildlife population.
Biologists talk about monocultures and how monocultures can be considered wildlife deserts. But when you have the diversity that we have on Engeling, you're providing lots of different kinds of habitat types. Diversity is a key for wildlife.
Macy's eyes are a little sharper than mine. She can look up in the tree and say, "There's one." And I say, "Where?" She said, "Right there." He's got to move pretty good before I see him.
He's going up the tree.
I don't see him.
You don't see any of them. There he is.
Oh, yeah. He's a little too far.
Did you say you saw one?
Be sure he's dead.
There he is.
Too bad, little fella. Biscuit and gravy and squirrels that we have in mind. I may take some to my dad. He lives in Mississippi, and he loves them, and he'll cook them for me. I'm not sure if my wife will cook them or not.
The population of most wildlife species depends largely on the quantity and quality of the habitat. That's why squirrels are so plentiful here at Engeling. But as the hardwood bottomlands across East Texas disappear, the tradition of hunting squirrel, a practice passed from generation to generation, could disappear as well.
I hope she just remembers spending time with her dad. He was way up in that tree, wasn't he? I did that with my dad and remember those days and have great memories, and I think it's the same thing with her.
And Joe Davis hopes Macy's generation won't be the last of the squirrel hunters. The annual public hunting permit provides access to low-cost hunting opportunities on nearly 1.2 million acres of land, including the Gus Engeling Wildlife Management Area.
Isn't this great?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
This series is funded in part by a grant from the Wildlife and Sport Fish Restoration Program. Through your purchases of hunting and fishing equipment and motorboat fuels, over $50 million in conservation efforts are funded in Texas each year. And by Texas Parks and Wildlife Foundation, helping to keep Texas wild with the support of proud members across the state. Find out more at tpwf.org. Additional funding provided by Ram Trucks. Guts, Glory, Ram.